Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia, and for those of you who are new to High Value, here I'm talking about manifestation, self-love, inner healing, and consciousness. So if that's something that you are looking for guidance on, then make sure to subscribe. Also, if you're looking for personalized one-on-one support, you can book a discovery call with me and check out whether we should be working together or not. The link is in the box below. And now let's jump into today's topic. Today I'm going to be talking about unconditional self-love, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that I'm going to make a video on this again because I feel like I've talked about it quite often, but apparently people are interested in that, and I think you really can't talk about self-love too much because it's so important. So let's dive into it again. And I'm not just going to talk about self-love, but unconditional self-love, and I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to deepen your self-love. And let's dive right in. So tip number 1 is remember that you are love. You are love, literally. That's what you are. And I know that from the human perspective and from your mind's perspective, it doesn't seem that way because you have opposing thoughts. You have thoughts that tell you who you are, they tell you a story about who you are, and you have all these emotions that make you feel that some things are okay and some things aren't. But on a deeper level, as consciousness and as spirit, love is what you're made of. Love is who you are. And when you relax, and when you allow your awareness to drop into your body and especially into your heart, and to really relax, it's not something that you're doing, it's more a process of letting go and surrendering, then you're gonna remember. And for some of you, it might take a little bit of practice, but you're gonna remember that love is what you are. And when we are not feeling loved, it's usually that we are having opposing thoughts in our mind that are judging either us or someone else, mostly us when we are not feeling loved, yeah? So you're judging yourself when you're not feeling loved, you're judging something that you've done or that you're about to do or some habit of yours, something related to you is something that you're judging when you're not feeling loved. Now, that is something that is happening in your mind. And when you are relaxing, that's when you're gonna be able to kind of distance from these self-judgments and start to remember that on a more subtle level, love was never gone. Love has never left you because it's who you are. That's also why you are trying to find your way back to love, is because that's natural to you. And what happens to many people is that we are so stressed that our mind contracts, our consciousness contracts, and we literally just keep focusing and hyper-focusing on our problems. And in that state, it's difficult to feel love because you're in a contracted, unnatural state. So in order to feel self-love and in order to be able to be unconditionally loving, you need to relax. You need to really give yourself the time and space to relax and to drop into your body and into your heart. And I've said it in previous videos that sometimes it can feel a little bit difficult to do that when your mind is used to racing. So you might have even some withdrawal symptoms when you're giving yourself space because your mind constantly wants to attach itself to thoughts and wants to constantly think about a problem and think about something. But you need to drop into yourself and just allow the unconditional love that is already there to come into your awareness. As I said, for some of you that might be very, very intuitive. For me, it has taken quite some practice. Like now I'm able, and I'm gonna link you to heart meditation that I'm doing up here. Now I'm able to drop into my heart and connect to unconditional love like always. It's not always extremely, how can I say it? It's not always super easy to drop into that. Yeah, sometimes I need to push myself a little bit to say like, hey, stop thinking of the problem right now and just drop into yourself and give yourself some space. Give yourself a pause. But I'm able to do it. And that's because I've practiced it a lot. I like thinking and my mind loves thinking. And in the past I was overthinking a lot. About problems, about things that were difficult, and my mind is still doing it sometimes, but I'm now recognizing it and able to bring myself back into a state of peace and calmness and unconditional love. And for that, it's very important to practice the meditation that I have just linked. If you didn't see the link, then you can also type into YouTube heart meditation, high value, then you're gonna find it. I've created a heart meditation practice that helped me to really slowly start to enter my heart willingly and be able to open my heart. And if you're doing that every day, you're going to see that your heart is going to be much more open and you're going to feel loved all the time. So don't shy away from practicing it. It's going to become very, very natural to you after a while, and you're going to be able to drop into that beautiful loving energy. So love is who you are, and if you don't remember that, then keep practicing with the meditation that I have just linked. Second tip, affirmations. That's a tip that I have used a few years ago when I was super depressed. I felt super depressed. It was after a breakup, and I was starting to really, really take care of my mental health because I was not in a good place overall, and I was working on my self-esteem. And I was reading a book from Louise Hay where she was talking about affirmations, and one exercise that I had to do was to tell myself 100 times per day that I love myself. So every time that I was remembering that, I said I love you, or I don't remember that I say I love you to myself or I love myself. I don't think it really matters, like the message is the same, yeah? So pick the one that works best for you, I love you or I love myself, and just tell that to yourself over and over and over again. Like, it might sound silly, but it actually works. Like, honestly, since I have done that exercise, I feel like something has shifted in me forever. Like, I will never ever forget that I love myself ever again, because I said it so often. And I also know that Matt Kahn does this practice where he says I love you to himself, and he encourages people to do that over and over again. And I think that's really, really great. Like, especially for people who are skeptical, it might feel difficult, but honestly, it works. So just keep telling yourself that you love yourself over and over and over and over and over again, and it will sink into your subconscious mind, and you will be more able to accept yourself in difficult times. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in tip number 3, which I think is extremely important. And that is, you need to start to accept and love the rejected parts of yourself, the parts that you have rejected and that you are judging about yourself. And I know it can be difficult to deal with your shadow, to deal with shadow aspects, and to deal with the parts of yourself that other people have judged and have rejected. But I think, well, I don't know which tip is most powerful, but honestly, this one, for me personally, knowing that I have my back no matter what, and that I love myself no matter what anybody else is saying, and that I love all of myself, even the parts that, well, at first glance might not seem that acceptable, that gives me such a peace of mind, and it brings such a peace into my life, because when they come up and when I feel unpleasant or highly unpleasant emotions, I have trained myself into being really, really deeply present and having a deep level of self-compassion with myself in those moments. And since I've started that, my self-love has just deepened, and I just know now, I know that I got my back. And sometimes I still get worries or doubts or fears come up, but it's nowhere near as difficult to work through them as it was a few years ago, where I would just get completely blocked. And the more I practice that, just the better I feel. And it's not that, all unpleasant emotions need to disappear. It's more that you're changing your relationship with them. So you're changing your relationship with parts that you have previously rejected. It doesn't mean that those are your favorite experiences. It just means that you're telling yourself that I love all of you. And isn't that what we all want? We want somebody to love all of us, even when we show up sometimes in less than optimal ways. And if you can't love it, that's okay, then just accept it. A big part of self-love is also just acceptance. I mean, I don't say that you should, passionately love parts of you that maybe even sabotage you, because it's even possible that these parts also exist within you, but you need to accept them in order to be able to heal them. And sometimes by pushing a part of ourselves away that is maybe not working in our favor, by pushing that away, we're not only creating self-hatred, but we're also we're also abandoning ourselves, and we're also resisting our healing. Because when you start to love yourself fully, and when you start to accept those parts that are less than perfect, what is actually happening? You are feeling safe enough then to start to take a look at them and examine the patterns that you have learned maybe throughout your childhood and throughout your teenage years, or also later in your life. And you're giving them room and space to breathe. And you're giving yourself the time and the space that you need to examine those parts. You're literally creating some space within your consciousness where you say, you know what, this part of me exists right now, and I know that I don't want to carry it out throughout my entire life, but I know that it's there, and I accept myself for who I am today. And then you can start working on it after you've accepted it, because you need to acknowledge its existence before you can start to shift it. That's also a very important part, and I'm going off a tangent here, but I just want to make this comment quickly. That's why manifestation works for some people and for others it doesn't, because when we are rejecting the unconscious patterns that we have and we do not examine them, then they keep creating from our subconscious mind. They are still there. You need to examine limiting beliefs. You need to examine parts of yourself that you have rejected and suppressed in order for them to be able to heal and to be able to vibrate on a higher frequency, or to start to become conscious. Because when you're conscious, you can create a life that you wish. And that's the same with the rejected parts of yourself. When you start accepting them, you're going to be able to heal, and this is even going to amplify your self-love even more. Alright, and that's it for today. Those are the 3 tips that I encourage you to try out. Don't forget to practice your heart meditation. And then if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. I love to hear back from you and hear how these tips work for you. And now I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Bye bye.